Let's let it rip.
All right.
Okay, you are live.
Okay, tell me when we can start there.
Let it rip, Commissioner.
We're all set?
Mhm.
Well, welcome to Cumberland County Commissioners meeting of Monday, April 12th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Couple of pre-meeting announcements. The commissioners will hold their meeting, we use Zoom technology, and the public may watch through the YouTube video streaming live on cumberlandcounty.org/live. Again, that's Cumberland County, all one word, .org/live. If you have, second thing is, if anybody in the public has any questions for us, please email them prior to or during the meeting to Kennedy@cumberlandcounty.org. And again, it's KENNEDY at Cumberland County, all one word or all one continuous word, .org. Now I'll call the meeting to order. And first, if there's no commissioner objections, I'll move the executive session, which I anticipate may take upwards an hour, to the end of the meeting, as there are no motions to be made afterwards other than to adjourn this meeting. Are there any objections? Well, hearing none, then I'll declare it's moved to the end of the meeting. May I have a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes of March 8th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or any additions or corrections? Seeing none, or nobody indicating, Manager Gailey, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Watonis.
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Commissioner Coward.
Present.
Commissioner Jameson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier.
Yes.
Show the vote 5-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is informational reports, presentation, and I think we've got some introductions. Jim Gailey, I'll turn this over to you.
Well, terrific. Thank you. And it's my pleasure to introduce the commissioners and the general public to two new directors within our organization who are joining us here this evening because I felt as though it would be very important for you to meet each one of them. First off, I'm going to start off with Melinda Fairbrother Dyer, who is our new Director of Regional Communications. Melinda has been with the county since 2006, so she's in her 15th year. Prior to working for the county, she worked 3 years down in North Carolina as a telecommunicator. And before that, she served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps as in the military police division. Melinda has worked a number of years as a supervisor for the county, and over probably the last 8 or 9 months has been serving as our acting deputy director for the CCRCC. So I'd like to welcome Melinda to the team. We are thrilled to have Melinda on board. She comes with a wealth of information and already hitting the ground running. I'm trying to keep up with her as she is speeding through everything. So welcome aboard, Melinda, and just wanted to make sure that everyone knew who you were, and we look for great things out of Melinda at the CCRCC.
Thank you, Manager.
Second introduction this evening is Bill Trufant. Bill is our new facilities director, replacing the long-term director, Bruce Tarbucks, who's still with us and on a part-time basis, but Bill has assumed the role in the ranks of the director's position. Bill joins us from the Portland International Jetport as a City of Portland employee. He was the airport facilities manager over there for the last number of years. Prior to that, he worked for SMCC as their grounds and equipment supervisor up at the Brunswick campus. And before that, he worked for the Brunswick School Department, overseeing grounds and custodial services there. Bill has a couple of associate's degrees in the works. He's in the architectural and engineering program at CMCC up in Auburn, and he was in the electrical engineering program at SMCC here in South Portland. Also holds numerous certificates in the field of facilities. So a true find, and we are thrilled to have Bill on board. As like Melinda, he has hit the ground running, and we greatly appreciate him joining our team and welcome him aboard again. He's been with us for what, maybe 3 weeks to a month now, Bill? Probably seems like 5 years, doesn't it? Great assets, great hires that we've had over the last 30 to 60 days here in the county, and we look for great things in the future from both individuals. So welcome both. The other part of the informational report presentation is I just want to, there's really no presentation per se on any of them. I just want to put them in the packet for the commissioners to, at your convenience, review each. The first is the FY21 Homeland Security Grant, new project selection process and you've all met Matt Mayer, our Director of EMA, who has been on board since December with us. He's teamed up with Deputy Director Emily Castor, and they've retooled the grant process moving forward. And so because of the retooling and the change and how we've done it in the last couple of years, we thought it was important for the commissioners to understand. And that's why we've put this memo in your packets for you to review and gain a greater understanding of the new direction that the EMA is taking with their grant allocations. The second item comes from Melinda in communications, and that is a 2020 annual report for the Regional Communications Department. And then to follow up with, on the heels of the 2020 Regional Communications Annual Report, she has also submitted the first quarter report for the Regional Communications Center. So those are 3 documents that I will reference you to. And please, it's really good stuff in all 3 documents. Feel free to just skim it or really do a deep dive because it'd be worth your time. So that concludes the information reports and presentations. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Travis, do we have any public questions or comments?
We do not.
Thank you. Move on to the, and help me out here, board, move on to the consent agenda approval.
Move passage.
You're ahead of me, Jim. I'll accept that. But for the public, these items are something which the commissioners commonly handle during prior meetings and without questions. If there are questions by any commissioner, a simple request to move it to the new business agenda occurs. So Jim made a move passage. Do I have a second? We got that? Who seconded it?
Jameson.
Neil, thank you. And is there any discussion, or does anybody want anything moved? Seeing none, Jim, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jameson. Commissioner Coward.
Yes.
Commissioner Witonis. Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
And Commissioner Cloutier.
Yes.
Show the vote 5-0.
Wow. New business. And I guess, Jim, you're going to have to lead us through this as each item comes forth here. May I have a motion to approve agenda item 21025? Approve
Second.
the 2021 CDBG annual action plan. As a
Second.
reading. Do I have a motion? I mean, yeah. Does somebody? Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
Jameson and Cloutier.
All right. Jim, do you want to lead us through this?
This item is our annual meeting with Kristen for her 2021 CDBG annual action plan. It seems like Kristen has been with us every single month for the last 6 or 7 months. We usually see her like once or twice a year, but we've seen her quite often because of the number of dollars that she has to play with over the last year. So, but this one is typically the time that we see Kristen every year. We usually have a first reading in April and then a second reading on the agenda in May, because then she needs to ship this report to HUD in Manchester, New Hampshire by the 15th of May. So we got some time here, but I'm going to kick it over to Kristen just to walk you through the 2021 annual action plan. Kristen, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Kristen Stiles, Community Development Director. I'm here tonight to present our 2021 annual action plan, which includes our home and CDBG budgets for 2021. As part of our citizen participation plan, we have 2 public hearings. This is the first of the 2 public hearings. I'm getting a lot of feedback on my end. Are you getting that as well?
Maybe if we
Is that, I think it's coming out better on my end. Is that better on yours? Okay, great. I just want to make sure everybody's able to hear. We hold 2 public hearings. This is the first of the 2 public hearings. The second public hearing will be at the May meeting, and that is when the commissioners will be voting on these budgets and recommendations. Tonight, I'm just going to go give a quick overview of the CDBG application process and how much money we are expected to receive this year. So we are allocated just a little over 1.5 million for our CDBG program for 2021. We released the application long before we know what the budget is. The application this year was released in November, and we had a pre-application that was due in December, and our final applications were due January 21st. We received a total of 13 applications this year, which is lower than what we have in the past couple of years, but there's also a lot of other funding sources out there. What was interesting about this year's set of applications was the requests were quite higher than we are used to, which meant that we have fewer applications that we're able to fund with what we are expecting to be our amount of funds this year. Once all of the applications were received, they were given to the CDBG review team, which is made up of members of the Municipal Oversight Committee, which is 1 member of each of our participating towns. So the review team looked at the applications and then held a public virtual meeting on February 10th that allowed all of the applicants to come and present their applications and for the review team to ask questions and get a little bit more information to find out from them if they had any questions about their application. After that, the review team met and scored all of the applications independently, and then we got together and discussed those scores and decided which recommendations to make to the Municipal Oversight Committee. The review team put together these recommendations and presented them to the Municipal Oversight Committee, and the Municipal Oversight Committee decided to approve those recommendations as presented to them. In your packet tonight is a quick summary of each of the projects that the Municipal Oversight Committee is recommending for funding. On the county's website is a full list of the applications along with what their requests, original request and their funding recommendation by the MOC is. So if anyone is interested in reading a full application, they're on there and available to the public. So of the applications that we got this year, the ones that are being recommended for funding are Through These Doors, Abuse in Later Life. It's a domestic violence prevention program for elders in our community. We have the Intercultural Community Center Family Cares Program. This is based out of Westbrook. They help the new American immigrant population living in and around the Westbrook area and offer a lot of programs that are specifically targeted to that population and help get them associated with the community, as well as right now they're also doing a lot of COVID outreach measures. We also have My Place Teen Center. This is also located in Westbrook. Because of different funding changes, they no longer had funding for their 10 to 13-year-old program. And this year is a particularly challenging year for that age group because with COVID, they're much more isolated than they have been in past years. And so this funding will help to make sure that those kids have a safe place to go and receive the emotional and educational support that they need. In our housing programs, we are, the Municipal Oversight Committee is recommending 2 projects to be funded. It's the Alpha One Critical Access Ramp Program. This program puts ramps on homes of low and moderate income individuals in Cumberland County that do not have the funds available to put a ramp on their home. Without these ramps, what ends up happening a lot of times is the fire department is called when folks have to go to doctor's appointments. So it actually saves quite a bit of money by having these ramps put on the homes. They also recently switched to aluminum ramps so that they can be more easily removed and put on somebody else's home. And that way we're using less new funding to get ramps on the homes. Another program is the Habitat for Humanity Home Repair Program. This is the second year that the county will be funding this through CDBG. It has been quite successful. They do everything from really minor repairs like bar grabs to help elderly folks get in and out of their homes and to remain safe, as well as larger repairs like roof repairs are some of the larger ones that they end up doing. For our public infrastructure and facilities projects, as you may know, construction costs in Cumberland County have skyrocketed. Well, pretty much everywhere they've skyrocketed, but the Harpswell Library project was funded last year and the bids came in almost 3 times as high as they were originally expecting. So we are recommending more funding go to this program so that they can do the repairs that they had asked to get done on their library. A similar situation in Westbrook, there's the Cornelia Warren recreation area. This project has been phased out because the construction costs have gone up so much and the scale of the project was quite large. So this is funding to pay for a portion of phase 4 of the reconstruction of Cornelia Warren recreation area in Westbrook. The next public infrastructure project we have is parking and sidewalk work in Windham, Massachusetts, along Main Street. This will provide safety measures for folks walking around that area along Main Street and will also help the businesses by adding parking and more foot traffic. This project ties in well with another project that is recommended for funding in Windham, and it is taking the old fire station that's there and hasn't been used for several years. A developer has decided to come on in and put in a brewery/restaurant there. So in the creation of this brewery/restaurant, we'll be using CDBG funds to create 15 new jobs for low and moderate income individuals living in and around the Westbrook area. The last project for Cumberland County that we will be doing or recommending is Little Falls South Windham Village master plan. The master plan for the area is quite old, and with so many changes in the area, it would be great to update it and come up with one unified plan for the 2 village areas since they're so connected to each other. Along with the county's CDBG program, Bridgeton and South Portland have a set aside of the county funds, and they run their process very similar to the way the county runs our process. They have a review team, they have application deadlines. The review team reviews those applications and then makes recommendations to the Bridgeton Board of Selectmen and to the South Portland City Council. Both of those groups follow their process, running on a very similar timeline to the county process. Those were both approved by the Board of Selectmen and the South Portland City Council in March. And the summary of those applications are also in your packet. The commissioners don't necessarily vote on each individual application for those 2 set-aside communities, but on the budget as a whole. Their set-aside is based off of a formula that was created in 2007 when we created the Cumberland County Entitlement Jurisdiction Group. In addition to the CDBG program, we also have our home consortium, which we participate in with Brunswick and the City of Portland. For our home consortium, we will be getting $432,611 as part of our regular home funds, the set aside that belongs to the county. And then we also have $145,000 of 2020 home dollars that were not spent last year that we'll be wrapping into our application for this year. Our home application runs on a different time frame than our CDBG application and will actually be released sometime this week. And the final applications are due to us in July. And then those applications are due to us in a time frame that then allows those developers to turn in a letter of commitment from us when they submit their low-income housing tax credit applications to Maine Housing to get the funds that they need to build the projects. Does anyone have any questions about this process before we check in on public comment? Seeing quite a few. Commissioner Cloutier.
Hi, Kristen. Once again, a very complete report. We appreciate that a lot. My question, I'd like to review before our next meeting the details of the Westbrook kind of tweens application and the grant details on that. And I have, I've only been doing this for about 12 years, so I still don't know what is the process from here if we were to say, well, we're not happy with some particular aspect of the program and would like it to be considered elsewhere. What would your process be from there? Do you know?
If you would like to move funding from one of these submitted applications to a different submitted application, that the commissioners have full ability to do that. It would just, we need to make sure that there's plenty of public time for public comment before we submit the final recommendations to HUD on May 15th.
I get it. So kind of indicates in 12 years, we've never done that, but that's, I was wondering today what that process would be. So thanks.
The review team really does a great job of thoroughly reading through the applications and making the recommendations and then informing the full MOC, who has a representative from each of the communities whose funds these are. And then they review it as well and make their recommendations before it gets here. So the goal is for this to be thoroughly vetted before it even comes to the commissioners.
Thanks.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, two questions. One is just before we get off it, Jim asked, I think, a great question, but the follow-up to that is, if that were to occur, can you give us some sort of a timeline that you'd understand now so that we don't mess up the application requirement to the feds?
Sure. So at either tonight's meeting, it can be discussed, or at the May meeting, it can be discussed. And I would just need to know what those final numbers are, where you would want those funds moved to before the vote takes place.
Okay.
And then
the other part of the other question I had was, is there any allowances being made for, and you've already touched upon it, but cost of materials? So if they just have to shrink the projects if they, yeah, okay.
Yes, so for all construction projects, they have to have a cost estimate budget submitted as part of their application with line items. And most of the time when they're submitted, the folks submitting them are the town planners or public works directors, and they're well aware that the costs are increasing. So they often build in a cushion in there so that they can get the project done between the time they're submitting the application and the time the funds would be available to them.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jameson?
Yeah, Kristen, just briefly, what is the scope of the broadband expansion in South Portland, that line item?
The broadband expansion is one that the Economic Development Committee brought forward. The Economic Development Department of South Portland brought forward. What they would like to do is, instead of having a broadband company come to them and make a deal, what they wanted to do was put out an RFP along with the specifications that they wanted for a plan in targeting a low-income area. I believe it's the Red Bank neighborhood that this particular one is targeting. Put out the RFP and see which broadband I'm not sure what the right word is, not provider, but installer would be the best option. And so the plan is to have them kind of compete against each other to get South Portland the best deal possible.
Follow-up question I guess I would have is that I know there was a large chunk of money set aside in the budget that was just passed. And I didn't know if South Portland obviously could compete for that. I think it was, to apples and oranges, I understand, but is that an allotment that could be used differently? You said you had limited applications, but that's $162,000. If South Portland, the city of South Portland can go back to and get that money as a result of this, I think it was, what was it, $15 million in the state budget that just passed? Just a question, and it's a larger question, I think, just for the commissioners to discuss.
It's a good one, though.
South Portland always has the ability that if this project ends up not moving forward because other funding or better funding sources are available, they can reprogram those funds the same way that right now we're reprogramming 50,000 of unspent prior year funding to get this done.
Thank you.
Are there any
Any
other
other
questions?
Yeah. Go ahead. Seeing none, Kristen, thank you very, very much. As Jim Cludia mentioned, very good report, thoroughly understandable. And I think first, it's a pleasure to work with you, but second, it's understandable for us and the public. And that's one of the reasons this program is moving forward so greatly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have to have a public hearing. I don't know how we exactly do that on Zoom, but maybe it's an email special. But aren't we supposed to have 2 public hearings on this?
You mean in addition to this meeting?
Right now, I would think is what we usually do is hold some kind of a public hearing through this process.
Yes, this item, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but Kristen has advertised this as a first reading this evening, and then she has put in the advertisement that, May 10th maybe is the second reading. So it has been publicly advertised, and anyone who wanted to weigh in on this item would need to join the Zoom meeting or submit comments.
So we had no one that indicated they wanted to join the Zoom meeting. Is that correct?
Correct. I
That's
didn't have anyone that reached out to me. In the ad, it said to follow the protocol that's in the agenda, which is to email Travis with any public comment for tonight's meeting.
Okay, as Jim mentioned, I think we're all very sensitive to the public at this particular time. So if that's the case, then the next meeting would be the opportunity for them to again join if they so desired.
Correct.
Okay. Are you and the rest of the commissioners comfortable with what we're doing here for a public hearing? All right.
Yeah.
If that's the case, we have a motion that's been seconded. Mr. Gailey, can you, or Manager Gailey, can you call a roll?
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes,
Commissioner Coward.
Yes.
Show first reading approved 5-0.
Thank you, Kirsten. Very, very well done.
Thank you, Kristen.
Jim, the next 3, do you want to take them individually or do you want to take them?
Individually would be great.
Okay.
I think individually will allow us to recognize each of the 3 groups.
May I have a motion for 21026, a proclamation for National Community Development Week?
so moved.
Got a second? All right.
I'll second.
Thank you. Jim, is there any, I'll let you put it forth, and then if there's any discussion, we'll handle it afterwards.
Well, if it's okay, typically we read the proclamation into the record. And so this first one is National Community Development Week. And it was actually April 5th through 9th. So last week, we're a week in the rears, but I thought it was well worth recognizing Kristen and Sandy in our Community Development Block Grant Office for the fantastic work they do day in and day out for the program, as we just saw in the previous item. But the proclamation reads, whereas the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development implemented the Community Development Block Grant Program in 1974 for the purpose of providing local governments with the financial resources to assist low and moderate income persons. And whereas the County of Cumberland has utilized nonprofit and community-based organizations to address community improvement and human needs. And whereas the week of April 5 through 9, 2021 has been designated as National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities like Cumberland County to provide decent, safe, and affordable housing and suitable living environment and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. And whereas the HOME program provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, and affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. Whereas the County of Cumberland and its partnering local governments have clearly demonstrated the capacity to administer the CDBG program to identify, prioritize, and resolve pressing local problems. And whereas over the past 5 years, our community, actually it should be 15 years, our community has received over $15 million in CDBG funds and over $5 million in home funds. Whereas the Community Development Office not only processed and distributed the county's $1.5 million CDBG allocation and $650,000 home allocation last year, but also distributed an additional $1.3 million in CDBG CARES Act funding to qualified individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and towns within Cumberland County. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners in Cumberland County, Maine, that said board hereby proclaims the week of April 5 through 9, 2021 as National Community Development Week in Cumberland County, and encourages all citizens of Cumberland County to support community development activities this month and throughout the year, because of our vibrant communities provide the foundation for a high quality of life for our residents. So I think that wraps up. And like I said before, Sandy and Kristen do a phenomenal job in the CDBG office, tracking all this money. As we deal with it yearly, they're tracking 2-3 years at a time and trying to make it all worth or make sense. And thus far, knock on wood, they have kept the program tight, and the HUD audits are squeaky clean. So I just want to congratulate both Sandy and Kristen on a job well done.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none being indicated, Jim, will you call the roll?
Did we have a motion in a second yet?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to look up the video. Do we remember who the motion was?
I think I made the motion.
Jim
I think
and
I seconded. I think I seconded.
Okay,
or Tony.
thank you. Playing catch up here. Commissioner Witonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward.
Yes.
Show the vote 5-0. Thank you.
All right, item 21027, a proclamation for National Communicators Week. May I have a motion to accept the proclamation?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Let's do a second. That's fine.
I gotta do something, right?
Jim, you're on.
All right. Again, this is this week actually, and Melinda is still with us this evening. So congratulations on telecommunications with Melinda. We will make sure that this proclamation gets up to your facility for your staff to review. But the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 12th through 18th, 2021. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Cumberland County Regional Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the County of Cumberland have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each CCRCC staff member has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, there be it resolved that the County Commissioners of the County of Cumberland declares the week of April 12th through 18th, 2021 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the county in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. This item, I think we all know the value of the communications department and being on the front line. They see it all firsthand. Luckily, they don't see it in person a lot of times, but they are the ones that are pointing in the directions. They're the air traffic controllers for public safety throughout our county. And we have a great group of individuals up there, led by Melinda, and we look forward to continuing to work with that group and making them even stronger in the years to come. So congratulations, Melinda, and please pass on our thanks to your staff.
Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, Jim, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward. Oh,
Got me
Gordon.
already. You got me already.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
I went off sync here. Show the vote 5-0.
All right, the last item we have in new business is 21-028, a proclamation for National Correction Officers Week. May I have a motion to accept this proclamation?
So moved.
You get that, Jim?
Second.
Jameson and Watonis, seconded.
Yours, James.
National Corrections Officer Week, May 2nd to the 8th, 2021. Whereas correction officers are trained law enforcement professionals dedicated to maintaining safe correctional facilities and ensuring the public safety. And whereas correctional facilities across the United States are run by highly qualified and experienced individuals with a deep understanding of the challenges within the profession. And whereas correctional officers and employees are responsible for the custody, care, and rehabilitation of thousands of offenders every year, as well as the maintenance of safe and secure facilities. And whereas correctional officers and employees are resourceful, capable, committed, patient, and persistent professionals in criminal justice. And whereas correctional officers and employees serve admirably in many different capacities, including jail administrators, chaplains, nurses, supervisors, social workers, teachers, managers, and directors. And whereas correctional officers and employees mentor, counsel, and treat offenders. And whereas correctional officers and employees provide offenders with direction while assisting with reentry and life outside corrections. And whereas correctional officers and employees rise to meet any challenge and serve this honorable professional nobly and admirably. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the County Commissioners of the County of Cumberland declares the week of May 2nd through the 8th, 2021 to be National Corrections Officer Week in the county in honor of the men and women who deserve recognition for their service and the exceptional performance of their duties under difficult circumstances. This is a recognition for all the corrections officers, those who work for us in the admin wing and secure perimeter of the jail. It's been one ride for them over the last year. It's been difficult in that jail. It's difficult day in and day out, but then add a pandemic on top of it. And they've really stepped up and done a fantastic job down there. We've had our issues, absolutely, with COVID, but so hasn't everyone else. And so I just want to congratulate Major Courts for a job well done with his staff at the jail, and the sheriff for all the work that he does, and Chief Deputy also. It has been a trying time over the last year down there, and we owe it a lot to the individuals who work in that jail for holding it together and keeping it as safe as possible down there. So thank you very much.
Discussion, Jim?
Yeah, I don't think we should let this go through without making special note of the dedication of the people who are on the front lines down at the facility. We all know that we have a problem with recruitment right now into that profession. So it's a challenging profession in so many ways. But we have a sheriff who has led us through a prolonged certification process that has been successful. We have people who are actually turning to with sometimes a lot more overtime than they or their family might be happy with to try to maintain standards. And so the result has been good, and hopefully we'll be able to get the word out in the community a little better that this is a good career opportunity, professional and constructive workforce. So, that's our hope, and certainly the recognition that proclamation talks about is well deserved.
Does anybody else have a comment? Yeah, Jim, thank you very much for that. I echo that. It's a tough job, and the hours are constrained. So my hat's off to them. We have a motion. Jim, will you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Witonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier.
Yes.
Show the vote 5-0.
Okay, take just a second. Travis, do we have any comments from the public or anything?
We do not.
Thank you. So that ends new business, unless somebody's got one that's not on the agenda. And I guess what I'd like to do now is get the comments from the county and executive staff. If they if they've got something like to say to the commissioners and or the public. I'll start off. Alex, have you got anything for the good of the order?
You caught the order there. Yeah, one thing that you might have seen a blip on in the news that we're still working out on our end is the Shuttered Venue Operating Grant Program. This is something that went into effect really a few months ago. It was opened up for applications early last week, and in pretty classic fashion, the website promptly crashed for the past 5 days. What is very up in the air right now is whether or not the cross insurance arena will in fact qualify for this. And the crux of this is essentially whether or not enough of their revenues are non-sporting related. And so we're working through some finer details on that. Not saying too much other than that, but basically what it's coming down to is Cross Insurance Arena is kind of right on the line with a few factors that don't necessarily work in their favor. This is changing guidance that's come out in the past 2 weeks that is a lot more restrictive than what we thought we were seeing a few months ago. So it's still very much a moving target, something we're working with Mark Eddy and Melanie Henkes on, and Jim pretty much every day, with Spectra Legal working with us to try to figure out how to best to interpret all of this. So that's one of the big moving targets out there right now.
Thank you, Alex. Travis, you got anything for us? I know there's been a pile of legislative bills that have come out.
I mean, as you're all probably aware, the legislature technically has adjourned in order to pass a majority budget, which was not all that uncommon a few years ago and went out of style, but is back again. There's still plenty of work for them to do that we're monitoring. I do want to mention, similar to what Alex was just talking about, Congresswoman Pingree has announced that earmarks are sort of back, and every member of Congress is allowed to submit 10 different projects to be considered for funding of up to $1 million. And they fall into a handful of categories. And the way that they've designed them this time to prevent any sense of foul play is that the earmarks have to match a specific federal grant. And so we found one that lines up pretty nicely with a federal grant at FEMA to do some system upgrades at the EMA and CCRCC site for communications to improve the equipment that we have on site and out in the field at the partner communities. So we're working on an application. It's a very short window to apply for funds to help pay for that project. And we're working with Congresswoman Pingree's office to sort of clear that it meets the guidelines of the federal grant, which is now about 10 years old. So there's some digging to do, but we'll have to apply for that one in about a week. So I've been working with Melinda and with Matt. They've both been incredibly helpful, turning things around quickly, both with FEMA and with the fire and police chiefs in order to apply for that grant. So hopefully more to come on that soon.
Thank you. Anybody had any questions of Travis? Because the bills are really coming hot and heavy. We have our sheriff with us, which really appreciate Sheriff Joyce being here. Sheriff, do you have any comments you'd like to make, please?
Yeah, a little update on COVID. First of all, most of the law enforcement guys, a high percentage of law enforcement guys and gals got vaccinated. And I want to thank publicly EMA Director Matt Mahar, also Chief Gorham Fire Chief Ken Fickett, and one of our sergeants, Joe Dyer, for getting these folks vaccinated. It was quick, it was seamless, and I can't speak highly enough for them. The correction staff, those who want it, not a high percentage, about 50-50, were able to get vaccinated. Don't have a lot. That wasn't as seamless. That was problematic, and we are trying really hard to get inmates vaccinated as well. We've got, I think, 30 out of 375 vaccinated. We keep asking for more vaccine, but we haven't been able to get it yet. Over the weekend or late Friday, we had a little bit of an outbreak. We have 4 inmates and 2 employees that tested positive. One individual is showing symptoms, as far as I know. Actually, one inmate and 1 employee is showing symptoms. The others are asymptomatic, so we're monitoring that. I also have to give kudos to Westbrook Fire Chief Andy Turcott, who has really come to our rescue several times over the last few months. We tested Friday into Saturday about 400 people, whether they were inmates or correctional staff. He's done a phenomenal job. I know that I got kudos from the commissioners a few minutes ago on the COVID. I really, the next people, they're the ones that I ride their coattails. I can't take responsibility. Matt Steinbeck, our health services administrator for Armor, and our director of nursing, Tanisha Lovejoy, along with Dr. Vore, have done a phenomenal job of educating us, but also, providing us a little bit of stability on what to expect and what we should do. Amy Jennings from HR, Don Goulet, Captain Don Goulet, Major Tim Quartz, John Costello, phenomenal job. I can tell you on Saturday morning, we were having a emergency call, and all of those folks chimed in on Saturday to try to develop a plan going through the weekend. We're waiting for the results of the 400 some odd cases. We got a bunch of them back today. Unfortunately, a lot of negatives, but that's kind of where we are. We went about a month and a half without COVID, and we were doing pretty good. But this goes to show that we don't have community immunity, in that I don't have all of the inmates, or as many as I can get, vaccinated. And we still have a few corrections officers we need to make sure. So still ride that wave. It brings back a sense of reality that we're not through the woods yet, but hopefully in the next month or two, we can get some inmates vaccinated and see what the future goes. I'd be hard pressed not to mention the inmates. If you think about it, having visits, something other than what we're getting every day with virtual, but having a face-to-face where at least you look through the glass, they haven't had that in a year. And we are all going stir crazy, and we go about our lives with a mask, go out, go to shopping, et cetera. So, the inmates have done a phenomenal job of trying to keep a lid on it and be as cooperative as possible. It's been frustrating on their end. Try to give special meals, free phone calls every once in a while, tablets, so that they can better communicate. But when you go a year and you're not able to actually have a contact with somebody, at least visually, without some virtual, that becomes hard pressed. So you can say a lot about the individuals we hold, but they've done a phenomenal job as well. So we keep trucking, and hopefully we'll be through this storm in a little bit. Thank you.
Any questions for the sheriff? Well, thank you, Sheriff. That's quite a report, and really appreciate the job that you and your staff are doing. Does anybody on your staff wish to say anything? Naldo, have you got some comments you'd like to make?
Almost. I'll yield to the sheriff.
Okay. Tim, how about you?
Again, I just want to echo the sheriff's comments. A real team effort down there, especially with challenging times. And again, great staff, and hopefully we can just get through this last bump in the road.
Okay. Where else? Who else have we got here? We got Matt. Matt, have you got some comments for us?
Not really. Other than we're in the grant cycle where we're actively managing 6 or 7 grant cycles, and then we just gave you the information on the upcoming one. So if there are any questions, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to walk you through what the new process is.
Okay. And Melinda, you run a very important piece of the apparatus for the county in keeping everybody coordinated and moving. So I give you the floor for whatever you'd like to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the introduction from the manager in the beginning of this meeting. I look forward to working with everybody. I'm in my seventh day, so I don't have a whole lot to report from my current position, but as he stated, I've been with the county for quite some time now. And I look forward to this week being able to celebrate our staff a little bit, to show them how much we appreciate them. COVID's been tough. It's been tough for everybody. I knock on wood when I say this, but we've managed to keep it out of our business. We don't have any employees who've been impacted with it personally. We've had lots of support, especially from the EMA folks. I was able to actually keep our operations up and running. We had a few what we call outposts, where we were able to work people who were in a quarantine status. They had their own restroom, their own microwave, their own workspace that we disinfected before and after each use, and are pretty proud that we've been able to keep everything up and running, because as everybody knows, staffing is an issue in general. So we couldn't afford to lose the ones that we had.
Thank you.
On behalf of my staff, I thank you all for the proclamation today. That was nice. And I'll be sure to pass that along to them.
Bill, you're the guy that's going to keep us in a building or in buildings or running. So welcome to the group. I realize you haven't had your feet on the ground that long, but you got a big job ahead of you. I hope to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I'm in my third week, to be honest with you. I'm trying to get used to or get familiar with the different buildings, the different entities that are involved. I know I have large shoes to fill with Bruce being here for so long. He has been great, basically showing me the ropes. I really appreciate that. I know we are working on, we're actually starting to work on some of the capital projects. So if we haven't been in contact with the individual departments, we will be shortly. And,
now is Tom, I don't see Tom. Oh, there he is. So, no, I got him. Is there somebody that looks, I feel like I missed somebody. Well, okay, now we've got Dawn Brewer. There you go, Don.
Yeah, here we go. I just want to echo some of the comments that the sheriff made, major courts. This past year, over a year now, has been a tremendous grind as it relates to COVID. Prevention, response, it continues. We thought we had a little bit of a lull about a month or so ago. It slowed down a little bit as we were getting employees vaccinated, but it seemed to rear up again the last couple of weeks, and then with another minor outbreak this weekend. It's constant communication, coordination between all the staff at the county, particularly at the sheriff's office with medical. We have regular meetings as needed. Constant communication with the main CDC staff for the latest guidance and what's new. It does change regularly, very frequently, the governor's office. So it's really a coordinated effort to stay up to date each and every day, because you never know what you're going to be dealing with from one day to the next. And it doesn't take evenings and weekends off, because we have staff. The sheriff mentioned Amy Jennings in the HR office, Captain Goulet in particular. The two of them have really worked very well together to keep, to the best of their abilities, COVID away from the workplace to the extent that they possibly could. The vaccines, that was helpful. We're getting people vaccinated. I wish we could get more employees vaccinated. Hopefully they will over time, but kind of disappointed we don't have more of our employees vaccinated. The other piece hiring, recruitment, retention of employees. Currently, I checked today, just correction officer positions alone, we are down 56, just corrections officers. We do have a number of other positions that are open and vacant. We're having a hard time attracting quality facilities employees, particularly with trades skills. We just had an employee in IT resign today, so we're down an IT position. In a number of other positions, we have had a couple of recent, very successful department head level hires, as you've met Melinda Fairbrother Dyer, and certainly Bill Trufant, and not too far ahead of them was Matt Mayer. So we've got 3 exceptional new department heads, and I probably missed some others, but recruitment and hiring and retention are front and center for HR right now, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. And COVID, and we're all ready to take a break from COVID. There's been a lot of behind the scenes discussions with the unions on a number of different things, labor relations related. But I think those are the high points. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. I think we've got everybody else. Now, comments from the county manager.
Finally, I didn't think you'd ever get to meet. Just a few things this evening. One, I want to let the commissioners know that next Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., over Zoom, we will be hearing from the Cross Insurance Arena general manager on the presentation of her budget at a trustees meeting. That is next Wednesday, 9 o'clock. And I will make sure that the commissioners all receive that Zoom invite and any material associated with the budget. It's looking pretty bleak, as you can imagine. The budget starts July 1st, and Melanie and I have been working over the last week trying to get it somewhat fine-tuned for the trustees next week. Want to remind the commissioners that on April 26th, we will have a workshop at 5:30 over Zoom. That workshop you scheduled about a month and a half ago, and that was at the request of the Greater Portland Council of Governments for an opportunity to present a homelessness report to the county commissioners. And you gave the April 26th date as the opportunity for them to present that report to you. So I just wanted to make sure that you got that on your calendars. And then lastly, last Friday, yes, Commissioner?
What time on the 26th?
It'll be 5:30, yeah. And then lastly, I just want to put on your radar a situation that's unfolding that we're feeling as though we're on the short end of the stick. And that is the Community Development Block Grant Program is teaming up with the City of South Portland and the City of Portland to undergo a fair housing plan. This is a plan that is a requirement of HUD for entitlement agencies to do I think it's every 10 years. And the group has put it out to RFP, and the RFP responses have well exceeded the budget that the 3 entities have put forth for such a plan development. So I just want to put that on your radar, as this is something that we probably will have a discussion about in the coming month about adding more money to it, because we're not close at this point to what the available funding was and what the prices we received for the proposal. So something that Kristen and I will be looping Alex into probably mid to late this week. And further talking about a strategy on inserting some more money into this and rebidding it, because it is a requirement of HUD, and it's something that we need to do. And More importantly, it's probably a good time to have a good, thorough housing plan done for our region. So I just want to put that on your radar at this point. Other than that, that concludes my communications. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions of the manager? All right, hearing none.
Yes, I actually,
Go ahead, Jim.
I wanted to ask about the housing plan, Jim. Does that have a significant public input process associated with it once it gets going?
Commissioner, I can't really speak to that as I have not read their RFP that they have floated. However, I do know when I did a housing plan back in the early 2000s, we did have quite a lengthy process, and most of the housing plan was developed from the public input that we received. So I would assume that this plan would also, but I can't 100% guarantee that.
Yeah, thanks.
I will follow up with the commissioners with an email this week, letting you know more about that.
Anybody else have questions from Jim? Seeing none, okay, we'll go into commissioner comments. Commissioner Jameson.
Yes, very briefly. Thank you, Steve. I want to welcome the two newest members of our management staff and leadership team, Bill and Melinda. Look forward to working with you and partnering with you in your departments. You have some challenges ahead of you, and you're filling positions that always will have issues presented. But I want to let you know that we're here to team with you to solve those problems. So we look forward to working with you in that regard. So to the citizens in general, we're getting close. Cumberland County is doing a great job having availability for vaccinations. So just be patient. Another two months will make a huge difference. Please go out and get vaccinated. Get on a list. We need to approach herd immunity. All of this last year will have no good if 50% of our residents or a big chunk of our residents decide not to get a vaccine. So please go out there, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your communities. 2 months will make an amazing difference. Things are already opening up, but please don't let your guards down. We're almost there, folks. Thank you for all of your diligence, your patience. But this has been a huge public health and safety issue. And without our dedicated staff members, we wouldn't be in a position to have the success we've had so far countywide. So I want to thank everyone involved, whether it's in the jail, in the sheriff's department, or any of the managers and all the volunteers and employees. Thank you.
Well said, Commissioner, well said. Commissioner Cloutier.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I join in congratulating and welcoming our newest members of the management team, and Matt is still kind of settling in as well. I will mention to Bill, over the years, there's been a suspicious rise in the baling wire and duct tape items on the, so something to keep your eye on, I guess. And so I hope that it's a positive, and people believe it's a positive professional experience to be involved in management here at the county, and it certainly is the impression that many people have given us over the years that they think it's a well-run and really outcome sensitive operation that tries to serve the people of the county in a professional way. But we're glad to have you on board, and we hope you thoroughly enjoy your work here. The other thing is just has to do with the pandemic relief law that was passed a couple of weeks ago in Washington. It is likely that the county will receive a substantial allocation for various purposes, and I've actually already been contacted by some community members who would like to have something to say about how that money gets spent. So I hope when we design our process, there will be a kind of a positive inviting of people to come forward with their ideas as the ideas are being formulated and evaluated as instead of simply as a tick list that ends up on an agenda that can be debated one night and pass. So it's likely to be a substantial amount of money. So it would be good to give people an opportunity to express what.
Thanks, Commissioner.
I also want to second everything that Commissioner Jameson said. In about 3 weeks, I'm going to go to my first Sea Dogs game in about 2 years. So.
But also that we provide we provide the infrastructure. And I have to reel off all this list of things that to the uninitiated sound, not very exciting, but it's really stuff that services that that nobody else provides that we have to. And you folks help us do a nice, quiet, competent. I am as other people have said, I'm kind of sick of being in quarantine. I mean, or under quarantine-like conditions. The good part of it is I don't spend a lot on gasoline anymore. The bad part of it is that I very rarely see anybody, and I know the pressures that everyone is feeling to get out and enjoy themselves. I would add to the people who have said, just stay the course for a little bit, and we'll soon be in a much better place. Certainly, as many people as possible should be vaccinated. We need to get to herd immunity. I personally am relying on the people who know what they're talking about, the CDC at both the state and national levels. They are staffed by people with all the professional training you would need to have that. And I'm really not going to, in the face of that, I'm really not going to take an opinion from some anonymous person on Facebook about, why we shouldn't get vaccinated. I think this has opened up tremendously, and we ought to all take advantage of that, all for everybody's better. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Have a great spring, if spring ever actually gets started here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other comments for the public at this time that we've forgotten to mention by anybody here? Or just give you the last time to blow the whistle. All right. Okay, again, for the public's benefit, the public business part of our meeting is over, and I'll be asking the commissioners to go into an executive session, which will last approximately an hour, after which the commission will adjourn its meeting without any action other than adjournment. Again, I thank you for attending the meeting. Travis, would you please prepare to close down the YouTube transmission and keep the connections to the following Zoom participants: the commissioners,